Well, here we are. Who would have thought things would end up this way? What I'm trying to say and biblically portray is that the foray of COVID-19 on the landscape of our sometimes leisurely lived lives could not have been predicted. What is most ironic is that the iconic, now melancholic number 2020 is supposed to be the symbol for perfect vision. Yet no one saw this coming. So here we are, running into our homes, wiping down our phones, re-washing our pants and shirts, and dare I say, closing the church. And I have heard the chitter and chatter. I have heard the sacrilegious laughter, the blasphemous banter that the church is closed and has now been exposed as hapless and helpless. So to address the stress of the current situation and the insinuation that faith is useless, I make Christian representation through divine declaration to you watching on TV, sitting at home. Even though we are in isolation, we are not alone. I know that this is new for all of us. Uncharted territory, yet sail the sea as we are assailed and derailed from the starboard of our mental ships with a load of care. But God is in the vessel and we need not fear. We need not wantonly worry or hurriedly scurry away. But just be encouraged by the words that I say. You see, it is in isolation that God enters our situation. It is in isolation that God offers consolation. It is in isolation that God offers revelation, that He is still working. It was in isolation on his way to cross the Jordan and face his brother Esau that Jacob saw and wrestled with God. It was through his wrestling that God was terraforming and reforming through the seed sown in the vineyard of his heart. It was there in isolation God gave demonstration of his divine power to cripple the cunning con man and rebrand him as Israel, God's great nation. It was in isolation that my dear sister Rosie reminded me that God met Elijah at a solitary broom tree. It was there that God ministered to his needs and heard his pleas for his struggle to end. But instead he would send sweet rest for the journey and food to eat. He sent his word through his angel to get him back on his feet. It was in isolation that Jesus the Son talked with God the Father, troubled and worried about what was to come after. He prayed in Gethsemane. He prayed in anguish and agony. Father, if it be your will, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine. I cannot fathom the pressure that was on his mind. Yet he held us in his heart, and to save our lives, he counted his as lost, and he bravely went to Calvary's cross. While we are in isolation, I offer this consolation. It is in isolation we get a special view of God. He is with us in this very moment. He has promised never to leave nor forsake. Nothing could keep him from us. Not the cross, not death, nor the stone. We may be isolated, but we are not alone.